always like mobile defensemen, you like guys that can move the puck. We have at least one guy in each pairing that can move the puck. And now we got guys who can have some pushback. You know, I mean, at one point in time, you asked me, do we have enough guys that can push back? And now you're asking me if we have enough guys who can have speed. If you find those guys, they're making $15 million a year and there aren't any.
Jim,
All right.
Jim, you have very few guys who are free agents this summer. Normally, that would be a good thing, but if you need to retool this roster, that could make your job difficult. What kind of a position does that put you in?
Not any different. You know, I mean, we have a lot of good players and players that have good resumes, players that have won Stanley Cups and players that have contributed big to that. And so, depending on what changes we decide to make, you know, we have valuable assets to make some of those changes.
My question's for Mike. If the message stays the same about playing the right way, how much is it if the guys aren't playing the way you want them to be playing? It's just a matter now of being more accountable. Whether you hold them to accountability or they hold themselves to that.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, you know. Certainly we'll go through a process as a coaching staff as we do every summer, and we'll look at the league and some of the tendencies and how teams are playing in different aspects of their game, and if what the quote unquote best practices are around the league. We go through that process after every season. We'll do that again as a coaching staff to see from a tactical standpoint, do we need to adjust or change any of the system play or the strategies that we've tried to deploy here with our group. But you know, having said that, we've tried to instill a game plan that would give our core players the best opportunity to have success based on their strengths. And that's what we talked about from day one when I became the head coach of this team. That's what we tried to do, season in and season out. But having said that, you know, the challenge is to make sure that there's 100% buy-in throughout the lineup, and being I think the area of our identity that we've lost a little bit is the hard to play against aspect. You know, when we can look at past experiences to try to learn from, and we can look at the current experience to learn from. You know, when we've had success as a group with this very same core of players, we were a team that could score goals. But I think what went unnoticed or really not discussed much was we were hard to play against. You know, we had back pressure on the puck, we had sticks. You know, we defended hard, we limited opportunities at the net. There was all kinds of aspects of our game that made us a team that's difficult to play against. And so it's a long-winded answer to your question, but the identity of this group, in order to have success, regardless of what your strategy is, you have to become a team that's difficult to play against. Everybody's got to be held accountable to it, and everybody's got to take ownership for it.
Where did you feel like you lost the buy-in?
It's a hard question to answer, you know, because we had aspects we had periods of time where there was lots of buy-in, and we got results as a result of it. And so I think what was frustrating from our coaching staff standpoint, and I think an indication of it is the inconsistency of our season, was was just the consistency of day in and day out, game in and game out, playing the game the right way that gives us the best chance to win.
Any more, Rob?
I'm hoping to get both of your thoughts on this. Does the process, the formula, the strategy, the personnel, the way you won in 2016 and 2017, is that still the objective going forward, or are you sort of adjusting based off what you see is working? And do you have a real firm idea yet of what sort of the next championship run can look like in those regards?
Well, I think, once again, you know, I don't have a definitive answer for you at this point, because I think part of this process is going through our own due diligence and trying to figure out what's the best way to play, given this particular core group of players that we have. And that's the discussion that we've had ongoing as a coaching staff and with Jim, you know, season in, season out, and trying to build a team that can support that core group and the style of play that we're trying to play. So we'll look at that this season or this offseason, and as I said, we'll go through our own due diligence as a coaching staff. We will look at the league, we'll look at our own team, and try to figure out, are there areas of our game where we know we can be better for sure, but do we need to change our strategies in order to try to maximize the group that we have?
In those years you're referring to that we won, we were a team. We were a very tight-knit team. And I didn't see that this year, almost from day one. I didn't see a point where our guys came together as a team. And I wonder if it's because there's too many guys content with where they're at in their careers after winning a couple of Stanley Cups. And is that a signal where some of that has to be changed, where you got that eagerness again? There's a bunch of things that were different between the Islanders and the Penguins, and the reason the Penguins won 4 straight, or the Islanders won 4 straight. They played the right way, and they were eager to win. They were determined, and the Penguins weren't.
3 more, Mike. Who has the mic?
I'm sorry.
It was supposed to be Mike.
I,
Yeah, he can finish raise his hand.
This would be for both you guys also, if you don't mind. Can you talk about how you see the relationship, the working relationship between the type of guys Jim acquires and the type of guys Mike wants to play? What's the give and take there and the kind of the dynamic?
Well, that working relationship is extremely good, because I don't make any trades on my own. I don't decide just to trade for somebody and say, hey, Mike, there's gonna be a couple of new guys in the room tomorrow, figure out how to make them play. Our staff is always together and 100% in on any final decision I make on players that are brought in and players that we think can make our team better.
Well,
And I think that the players that were added this year, Pedersen and McCann and Bukestad and Gabranson, in different ways for what they bring and what they do best, have made our team better.
Mike has the answers.
I'm sorry.
They were on the same question.
Well, you know, from my standpoint, I'm not sure I can add anything that Jim didn't already say, but I believe we've got a great working relationship. Jim is a good communicator. He encourages our input and our feedback, and I do think that in all the discussions that we've had since we've been together, we tend to see the game a similar way. And given the group of players that we have, and trying to maximize this group of players or the core group that we have, I think we share the same vision on how to play stylistically in order to maximize the group.
Okay, well, your turn.
Sorry. Mike, you talked about that stretch in March where you guys really kind of played the right way and got that identity. You had 71 and 58 weren't around for a lot of that stretch. When they came back, did guys just get overconfident, like, oh, well, you know, Gino and Letang are going to do things that they do, and we can be riskier because they're going to score goals, and like, did they sort of just lose a responsibility as a group because of that?
Well, we could all speculate on why it's evolved the way it's evolved. The reality is you know, you're trying to understand mindsets of players and mindsets of teams, and you know, and human nature is hard to figure out sometimes. You know, that's one of the biggest challenges of coaching. But what I will say is I think when key players go down, there's a certain level of urgency associated with the rest of the group that everybody's got to buckle down and make sure they play the right way, because we can't win unless we do. And I think that we've got to try to apply that same mindset when we have a full complement of players, and now we got something. And I think that's our challenge moving forward is become a team that part of its identity is a team that's difficult to play against, and that means a lot of things. But when you look at the month of March as an example, we were a team I thought that was hard to play against. Our goals against was down. We limited odd man rushes against. We made pretty good decisions with the puck. There was cooperative effort, and there was commitment and compete. And so that's what it takes to win.
Last one, Stu.
Jim, this one's for you, but Matt Murray, I think, has one more year on his contract after this year. You've sometimes done that ahead of time with Jake. Is that a priority for you to get something done with Matt this summer?
I can't give you a good answer. I haven't got to that point to think about it. I have a number of other things to deal with first, but you're right, sometimes I do jump ahead on it. In due course, I'll take a look at that.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Jim, just in terms of the team going into the offseason, do you feel the window is still open for it to win a championship, as is?
I don't think as is, but the window's still open. I think it should be open for more than just 1 year also. But, I mean, I'll say the obvious based on how things finished. We're not gonna be able to do it the way we finished.
Mike, just following up on one comment that Sid made, said basically the most frustrating thing about what happened was you guys had a pretty good handle on what New York was gonna do and they did it anyway. Why? Why were they able to do it anyway if you guys had a pretty good handle on and diagnosing what they were gonna do?
Well, I think it's a couple of reasons. One, you gotta give the Islanders credit. They played a good series. I think to a certain extent, we beat ourselves in a lot of circumstances with our lack of commitment to play the game the right way. And, you know, we talk about this, you know, at length all season long. And, you know, to win in the playoffs, you can't be a high-risk team. You've got to have a certain discipline to your game on both sides of the puck. It's not always about scoring goals. And I know that there was a lot of talk about the fact that we didn't score. But when I look at the way the series was played out, it wasn't so much that we didn't score as some of the opportunities that we gave our opponent were high quality, and we didn't force them to have to work for it. And as a result, when you give someone that many 2-on-1s, for example, those are pretty high quality chances NHL players are gonna score. And so, you know, there's a certain discipline and a certain diligence associated with winning at this time of year. And as a group, we all have to take responsibility because we didn't live up to that.
Question for Jim. Jim, with the offseason coming, can you maybe describe your approach, how severe you think the changes have to be, and what your outlook is?
Yeah, I don't know yet, because we're still a little bit emotional of the disappointment in how this ended. And I think the best thing for me to do is take a little bit of time to think through this. You know, I'm in the middle now of meeting with as many people that have input in our organization as I can, from the coaches to hockey ops to ownership. And that'll take a little time to work through that. And then, you know, some big decisions will have to be made. I mean, obviously, there'll be changes in our team. You know, I'm just gonna talk a little bit more about Sully's answer about playing the right way. Like, when you look at our team this year, the inconsistency, we still got 100 points, but it wasn't a comfortable 100 points. Our team played as a team in March. We had a tough schedule, we played a lot of games, we played the game the right way, and that's when we played at our best. And we were tracking towards being a good playoff team, and then we ran up against a team that was more determined and played the game the right way, and we played at a higher risk. But it was there, you know, we saw it in March, and it could certainly be there in the future, but it won't be the exact same.
Jonathan?
Jim, when you, in the lead up to the 2016 and 17 seasons, a lot of the moves you made your team faster. And it seems like a lot of the moves since then have not necessarily done that. I just wonder your thoughts on that philosophy. Do you feel like that's something that you need to get back to?
Have you been going to the games?